Now, if you look at Europe, there are also bigger trends or some facts which are like which are probably you take them for granted and we don't in the US, which is there's a lot of distribution of e-commerce channels as opposed to Amazon. In US, Amazon's 60% of e-commerce in many categories, whereas in Europe, let's take UK for instance, it's not that heavy dominance. There's a lot more happening on Tesco and Sainsbury and quick commerce and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Could you perhaps talk to us about what a typical brand has to deal with from an omni-channel perspective in Europe?
Yeah, so omni-channel within e-commerce, presumably,
yes.
right? Right. So, or digital commerce.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so the play, like I said, is always, I mean, in some form or fashion, we need to understand that the play is going to be key accounts, which is retailer.com, including an Amazon, which is 1P. And everything else which is separate, which means it is not controlled by the manufacturer and it is controlled by somebody else who's reselling, which is where the 3P play comes into play. Now within the key accounts, you will find that there is a huge mix between a marketplace key account like an Amazon, which still plays a very big role, because 70% of search even in the UK today happens on Amazon. Okay, so if I'm an e-commerce shopper, I would search on Google, but I would most definitely search on Amazon to look at prices, etc. Even if I'm doing window shopping out there and looking at what recommendations, and then maybe go to a specialist retailer and then pick up something out there. So I would still do a fair amount of discovery on Amazon and then move out. Retailer.com is now changing. Earlier, it used to be whatever they sell in physical retail, they dump it into their website, like you mentioned, Tesco, etc., etc. But now I think they're beginning to realize that it's not giving them as much of contribution as what an Amazon does. So the behavior was that if I need to go to a Tesco, I'll go to a Tesco store. Why should I go to Tesco.com? I would rather order it from Amazon, or I would rather forget some. So now that I think most retailers are becoming savvy. So there are changes which are happening in terms of why, what, how they structure their navigation, how they're looking at bundling. Like if you take Boots.com, Boots has started doing bundling, which means they're not selling single SKUs. They are allowing portfolio bundles, which means within the portfolio, I can start doing bundles, and you can have PDP pages which are specific around need states and things like that. So they are becoming creative. And then you obviously have quick commerce, which is, I mean, there are grocery quick commerce happening. How does that pick up? It's very different because the shopper missions are very different. The shopper mission in a quick commerce is typically top up. Your average basket sizes are very, very small. It's because you've forgotten something. You need to, get a £2, £3 business, etc. Now, £2, £3 businesses I cannot do in a big marketplace thing because it's non-viable. I'll never make those kind of money. So if you need to buy a Colgate toothpaste today, for an Amazon to fulfill that is going to be terribly expensive to do that kind of fulfillment. So, and hence quick commerce comes into play, where they're able to look at managing those small low price SKUs and assortments. So your average basket sizes will be very small in quick commerce compared to a retailer.com, which is possibly going to be much bigger because it's typically what we call as stocking up shopper missions. And then somewhere in between, you'll find Amazon, which is your marketplaces, which are all impulse purchases and those kind of stuff. So you have planned shopping at one side, which is your retailer.coms. You have top-ups, which is your quick commerce, and then you have your impulse, which is essentially Amazon. So broadly speaking, that is how the landscape is in terms of e-commerce.